All right, guys, 2017 Jeep Compass, and we got a P1044 error, which is on these 2.4 liter engines. It's basically a valve oil solenoid. There's four of them. It's a complete unit that's on the back of the engine, and this is showing an error. So what we're going to go ahead and do is pull off the PCM connector, which is the blue one. That's C2, I believe, and we're going to test and see if we're getting good ohms reading. I pulled off the connector. Customer already kind of mangled it, so I couldn't use it. Normally I had to hack it off. A little tip for you in case you run into something like this. It should look like that, but this is actually what it looks like. It doesn't have the clamps to remove it. You push down on those, and that's going to force it out little by little. And as you pry here, like this, you push down in on each one of those until it goes all the way down. As you can see, they're out now, both sides, and then it can come out. Pins 4 and 5 are the ones that we're looking at. That's this green with pink and this green. So we're going to test the ohms across these two, and we should get less than 2 ohms, 2 ohms or less. .09. We got some resistance from the connectors, so it's going to be a little bit less than that. I was about to check the computer side, then I noticed something on the pins 4 and 5. I don't know if you noticed that. So that's pin 1, bottom left, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you notice on pin 5, there's something going on there, like it was getting hot. It's important to note when you're doing these kind of readings, you got to test your equipment too, because you're going to have some resistance possibly from this end to that end on your equipment. So you got to make sure you add that in. It's important so you don't get false readings. So I tested also from pins 2 and 3 and got the same reading, .09, and I tested my equipment and it pretty much balanced out. So they were the same. All right, guys, doing some testing, no more DTC. What I went ahead and did is in a situation like this, I kind of went with my gut, and I felt like the pins were a little bit spread on that PCM connector, and that was causing an intermittent reading and causing the valve to give that error, P1044. So what I went ahead and did was it's recommended to use like dielectric grease, but in this case I decided not to. I decided to use Vaseline, because Vaseline is actually a conductor of electricity. Dielectric grease actually does the opposite. Yeah, dielectric grease does the opposite. Dielectric grease is actually not a conductor of electricity. In this case, I actually wanted it to be a little bit more conductive. You can actually see similar results using Vaseline as both, but in this case, I decided to use Vaseline. This is actually a good tool if you do electrical diags in your arsenal. So I added Vaseline to that pin 5 connector on the actual PCM, and also I added it to the connector on the inside of the hole. I just kind of rubbed my finger, stuffed it in a little bit, put a little bit more, so that it would kind of get in there, and that would actually help it to make contact around the pins and everything, which would cause it to conduct more. And I feel like it was probably a spread pin issue, and at this point I've been running the car here for a good 2-3 minutes, and it came on within less than a minute the last time. I'm revving the engine and I'm not seeing the issue, so I'm feeling pretty good that this might take care of it. But the correct solution would be actually to probably open that connector and fix that pin, the connector. I don't believe it's a problem with the PCM, but I believe the connector is damaged somehow. It was spread, so I believe that's the long-term solution for this. But we'll see how it goes. I'll check with the client, let him know, and see what he wants to do on that. But this might actually, do it. So we'll probably update you on this one. All right, guys, customer decided that they wanted to go ahead and do a more permanent fix. So I gave them 2 options to actually open that connector and basically repair the pins on that connector, close them in, because I believe they're probably too loose, which is causing the issue. Or the other option would have been to replace that whole connector. So he decided for me to open the connector. So I'm going to do that tomorrow as a permanent solution. But I had him just try to drive it today and see how it acts, which I'm pretty sure it would be fine. Could probably run like that for a while. Like and subscribe, guys, man, and see y'all on the next one. Yeah, just quick update, guys. If you do want to use in a scenario something similar to this, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it on a PCM. As far as Vaseline, this is like a temporary fix, basically to see how the car would behave or operate like that, which I believe is actually solving the issue temporarily. But you got to remember, under the engine bay where this PCM is located, you're going to reach temperatures up to 200 degrees. And the dropping point for Vaseline is something like around maybe 120 to 160 degrees, something like that. So that means it's going to travel, right? And so that's not something you want to necessarily have in a PCM or use as a permanent fix. The dropping point of certain things like high temp grease, for example, is 500 degrees. So something like that would be, that's conductive as well, by the way. Just throwing that out there for you guys. Dielectric grease is the right product for something like this. But of course, the right solution is to actually fix those pins, right? The receptor, right? That's too spread out. That's causing, if you saw the picture, it's basically, you can see that it's heating up because there's resistance, because the pin is probably open too much. So that's what's going to be done. That's what the customer decided to do, and that should take care of the issue. No more at this moment. There's the intermittent code where the engine was, it looked like a misfire. In fact, the guy took it to 5 mechanics. They replaced spark plugs. They did all kind of stuff which had absolutely nothing to do with this issue, but they didn't know what they were doing. This was an electrical issue, of course. So just keep that in mind, guys.